You seem like you might have the same issue that and I know Zach has, which is I can't stop making sauces in my brain. Am I right? Or am I
Yes.
completely wrong? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm constantly doing that as well.
Welcome to Flavor Balance Heat, the podcast for hot sauce lovers and makers.
I'm Spike,
And I'm Zach.
and we're joined by Tim Paulman.
Hey there.
Hi, Tim.
Welcome to our shit show.
This is
Glad to be a part of it. Thanks for having me.
I've been excited about this one because I tried your Nopales sauce.
Oh, yeah.
Zach sent it to me a couple months ago, and it was one of those revelation sauces for me when I'm like, okay, you get those every so often, and they're really nice. I really, really like that. And the smoked strawberry, which Zach brought for show and tell. We were doing show and tell was where we were sending everybody the same sauce, and that got to be
Hmm.
a bit much. But he sent me that, and didn't know I don't like strawberries, but I like to be surprised by something I don't necessarily like and have it change my mind. And it was definitely one of those. I love it. It's a really
Oh,
good sauce.
fantastic.
So, how did you get into the hot sauce industry?
So I was in the tech world for quite a while, and it was driving me a little batty. And I think it was around a Christmas time. I had started just trying to make a hot sauce to give to friends and family as a Christmas present. I had brewed beer years before when I was in college. When I moved to San Diego, there was just no room for any brew equipment or anything else. So my my capacity for making anything just shrunk to basically nothing. So I decided to give hot sauce a try. It was pretty well received by the friends and family. I moved into a different place, started getting some plants in the ground, growing a bunch of those. And then when those plants came to maturity, I had to do something with the peppers. So I continued just tweaking the recipes. And I had a built in test group, I guess you would say. I was conducting A B testing every time I'd make a batch and here, try this, here, try that,
Yeah.
and find out what people liked, what they didn't like. And I just tweaked down about 2 or 3 different recipes that were pretty solid. And I decided I had been at the job that I was at for 6 years by that point. So I was kind of ready to move on and figured I would give it a go and started Paulman Acre professionally in it was July 4th, 2014. So I'm coming up on 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And so I did that for about a year and a half. It was entirely bootstrapping Paulman Acre, getting all the licensing right, getting to markets, making the product. I had to go back to work for about 2 years. And then in September of 2017, I gave it trial number 2 and have been going nonstop since.
That's fantastic.
What was the first sauce you brought to market?
Yeah.
It was the smoked pepper sauce. I had about 3 different variants of that smoked pepper sauce, and it was different from anything else that was out there at the market, at least at the time. It was a pretty unique product, and I felt like I had something that was not your typical hot sauce. And I know every sauce maker says that, but it was genuinely something new and different. So I decided to give it a go.
Well, in 2014, I can definitely see that being the case. You
100%.
talk about catching the wave at the right time. Holy moly, man. 2014 is the best time to start a hot sauce business.
Yeah. I think it's challenging no matter when you start, but yeah, for sure. The market wasn't nearly as crowded in 2014 as it is in 2023. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Get in good solid start, and then Hot Ones kind of blows everything up, and you're right at the peak of that. That's perfect. That's fantastic. So you seem to have a clear hot sauce philosophy. At least I was looking on your website, and it seems pretty clear, like you know exactly what you are and what you're about. Can you explain it a little bit to us?
I've always viewed hot sauce as a bit of an expression, similar to any other creative endeavor, music, poetry, whatever. There are certain songs that you can listen to and you know exactly who it is just by the properties of the song. And I feel like there's a similar thing in the hot sauce world where there are certain brands that when you taste that brand, you know exactly who it is, even if you don't know who it is. There's a philosophy that hot sauce is a commodity, and you sell X number of units and the line goes up, and that's what we want. And with the nature of business, that's always a factor. But
Yes.
there's always much more of an artistic expression that I try to lean into, hopefully successfully.
I agree. I think those are the people that I'm drawn to. Zach is one of those people
For
who
sure.
does that. And I think that comes from, for me at least, I was in writing school, and I was a writer before I became a cook and chef. So it was just another extension of that creativity for me. I noticed
Agree entirely.
on all your bottles I've seen, you have the Warren Zevon quote, "Enjoy every sandwich," which, by the
I
way,
do.
I have planned to get put right here on my
Fantastic.
hand. I've been planning that tattoo for, well, 5 years probably or
I
whatever.
get a lot of funny questions about that. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Enjoy
Yes,
every sandwich.
from the Letterman's interview.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely. I saw it right away. I was like, all right.
yeah.
Yeah.
You either get it immediately or you don't.
Yeah, yeah.
So how did you and Jay connect to create California hot sauce solutions?
It was fall of 2018, somewhere around there. I was taking my daughter to a field trip in Temecula. They were going to some museum out there, and I decided I would go along because there was a hot sauce shop out there that I was going to show up and pitch some product to. So while she was at the museum, doing the school thing, I stepped away and went into the hot sauce shop and pitched to them, and they said, "This stuff looks great. Unfortunately, the landlord has pulled our lease and we're actually going out of business. We're trying to reopen across the street, but we've got a lot of product that we're really just looking to liquidate the product here." I said, "Oh shit, sorry to hear that." So took a look at what they had, and I saw there was some Jay's Taco there, and I had seen Jay's brand before, but I'd never tried it. So I picked that up, picked up half dozen other things, and then came back home and I started looking at Jay's packaging, and I noticed he was in LA. I'm in San Diego. He was doing a lot of stuff himself, so I just shouted out to him on social media, introduced myself, said, "Hey, I tried this product. It's great. Here, let me send you some of mine." And then we just got to talking, and the questions eventually turned to, "Well, wait a minute, who's making your product? Oh, well, who's making your product? Oh, well, maybe if we combine our forces, we can bring the overhead of both of our products down. So, yeah, that sounds like a good idea." And then the split second that we did that, other people that we knew throughout the hot sauce industry said, "Wait a minute, you guys are making hot sauce now? Do you want to make my sauce?" Kind of reluctantly, said, "Yeah, sure, okay." And then that just started a boulder rolling off the cliff that we still haven't seen the end of. Just one person to another person to another person. And we've
That's
got about
awesome.
60 different brands now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
They run a lot of product for such a small company.
yeah,
Yes, we
that's
do.
fantastic. Wow. All right. So it seems like I put a little note on my notes here, making your brand a community, and it seems kind of like that's something that you do basically through the music theme that you have. I love that through all your is it all your bottles? Do you go for that every time, the music theme, or is it something you just happen to notice?
It kind of varies. There are some that I really push that on. If you're in the know, you know, and if you don't know, then it kind of raises a question mark above your head. So there are some products that I want to be much more widespread. That I've moved away from the musical theme a bit. The smoked sauce, I used to have all these crazy Deadhead inspired name. It was like Mango Mojo Daydream and Pina Lava Sunshine, like all this crazy stuff. And I thought it was brilliant, but people would look at that product and be like, "What the hell is this? A shampoo? Like what is this?" I just had no idea. So I just had to condense it down to smoked pepper hot sauce, and everybody, "Oh, okay, I think I know what that means now."
Yeah, I do the same thing. I had one that I just recently had to really narrow down because it was we worked with a local beer company, and so their name was Hunga Dunga, and it was Hunga Dunga, but it was our mustard sauce just with added beer, so that's black and gold. So Hunga Dunga
Yeah,
black and gold beer mustard, and people didn't have. They would say black and gold, and they would know which one it was, and it was this, and it was that, and so then I got rid of Hunga Dunga, and it was black and gold beer mustard, and they still didn't know what was going on. So I got rid of everything, and now it just says beer mustard hot sauce, and they're like,
yeah.
"Oh
There you
yeah,
go.
all right, I'm on board."
Yep. Sometimes you just gotta be straight and direct and to the point.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
similar with the fermented garlic hot sauce.
Oh yeah.
Just very straight to the point. This is what it is.
And I find with some of mine, the name of it ends up just being an afterthought. We've got a red flower, which nobody ever calls red flower. It's Korean sriracha, and that's what everybody knows it as. They don't even care about the name red flower, even though it has a beautiful like red flower on it. So co-packing. First of all, how do you juggle that with your own sauces? That's got to be hard because you have your own priorities. You get orders in, and you're like, so, "Oh, we've got this big order coming up," and then you
Hmm.
got big orders from other people. And we've done a little bit of that. It's tough to decide what's going to go first when you really need it. When
Yeah.
when when it's a dead heat as to how important it is to get it done. That's hard. How do you do that?
One of the I wear a lot of hats in the company, and one of the things that I do, one of the primary things that I do, is land planes. So I'm constantly the one that's trying to figure out the schedule of when this thing goes in and that thing goes out, and this schedule. I'm taking the calls from the customers for placing the orders, trying to schedule it out through the state release. In California, we have state cannery releases. So every 2 weeks, the state of California comes through and they look at all the product that we've run. We test the pH together. They review our notes and then they sign off on it. So everything has to have to sit in our warehouse until that we get that sign off from the state of California.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it's mainly about scheduling out those 2 week sprints where I know what's happening in this 2 week and what needs to be released when. It's challenging. Think of how obnoxious it is to make sure that you've got all of the ingredients and packaging and labels and everything else for your own product, and then multiply that, by sometimes as much as 10 different products in a week. It's just, it's maddening sometimes. So to answer your question, it is very difficult to figure out how to slot these things when and where.
And when you've got both and you have to make both just as important, I find it really hard. It's like a stepchild. You have to, okay, this has to be as important to me as the other thing that I do that I made. And you have to consciously keep reminding, at least for me, I have to consciously remind myself, this is just as important as the thing that you made,
Right. It's mainly timeline that dictates that. It's very rare that you have two things that are the exact same priority with the exact same timeline that are in conflict. It's usually for this next 2 weeks, if I've got 14 things to go into that pipeline, I know that 10 of them are priority due to timeline constraints. And of those 10, maybe 7 of them actually have everything here in the warehouse already. We're not waiting on a special delivery of, mash or bottles or whatever.
Yeah.
Coconut milk.
It's coconut milk. It usually works itself out with just a little bit of massaging.
Awesome. That's really good to know.
Until someone from Arizona calls up and says, "Hey, I need like 24,000 bottles ran ASAP."
Yeah, that does happen.
It's definitely happened. So let's talk about ingredients, Tim.
Yeah,
Yes,
that
sir.
was actually my next
I know
question.
you specifically choose ingredients for your sauce, and I know there's particular things that you won't use in your sauce. If someone comes to you and wants a product co-pack that requires an ingredient that you personally refuse to use, will you still make that product?
Short answer is yes. We have people that use xanthan. That's a pretty regular occurrence. I don't really use xanthan in my own product. Not that I'm opposed to xanthan necessarily. I just don't think it fits the brand, so I tend to keep it out. But that one's super common. I think some other examples will be, hey, we want to use this product that comes in a bucket and it's, a frozen garlic puree. We just dump that in there and keep going. It's not something that I would use, but I have zero problem if that's what they want in their brand. There's a lot of examples like that. I think the only things that would really be a no-go are animal proteins. And we have had people come in the shop and ask for products being made with butter or bouillon, something like that. And most of those are a definite no. No dairy, no animal proteins.
Yeah, you have USDA at that point. You have to deal with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it changes our hood requirements. It changes a lot of stuff just as soon as that animal protein gets added.
Changes your cleaning process.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
What if somebody were to ask about like potassium sorbate or sodium bisulfate? Do you feel comfortable? Because I would have a hard time with that one.
We have used both. Yes.
Have you?
Don't like it and strongly recommend that they not do that. And
Yeah.
of the 60 brands that we have manufactured for, I can think of one for sure, maybe 2 that have ever done that. And at that point, but by the time they had come to us, they had already had the product at market. They had already been through several co-packers and they were not changing anything in the product, which I understand and I respect. But stuff's a little rough.
Yeah, and I don't like I mean, I get why people use it, especially for, like, if you want your stuff on restaurant tables.
Yep.
We have that, and we don't use those chemicals, but I understand why people would want it because it's tempting. It's tempting to make sure that nothing's gonna explode, if somebody tries to marry something, things like that.
Right.
But, it's a line too far for me. We do use xanthan. I like the texture of xanthan gum, but I don't like I just don't like that step into preservatives like that. I'd rather use more
Yes.
natural preservatives.
I completely agree. And it
So-
does put off some vapors that are a little rough.
Oh, I bet.
So I know we asked this question to Robert last week, but let's talk about hot sauce in hot sauce with Tim, since he
Oh,
manufactures many products
I
that
love that. Yes.
one of the ingredients is 100% hot sauce.
Yes,
How
I
do you
have
feel
seen
about
that.
that?
Hot sauce and a hot sauce, I am fundamentally opposed to. There is the other side of the coin, which is hot sauce and barbecue sauce, which I see more often than hot sauce and hot sauce.
Oh, yeah.
It's hot sauce and hot sauce seems to be slightly unethical from a recipe generation standpoint.
Yeah. I mean,
Anytime we see that coming in, we strongly recommend that, hey, you can figure out how to make your hot sauce without including hot sauce as an ingredient.
and it's usually cheaper.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it should be cheaper. You've already paid for the process once.
Right.
Yeah, I know a few that have done that, and I don't understand it when you can get it, you can make it cheaper, but to each his own, I guess. But I wouldn't do that. I couldn't either. If somebody had asked me to do that, I'd say no. I've noticed, so I've never. Is this the official? So on your website, it talks about white labels. Is that what that's called? We call it relabeling. We do it for a few different places, but I didn't know what the official term is. I
White label. Yeah.
White labeling, yeah. You take a product that's ready made and just slap somebody else's label on there.
Yeah, so we do that for Steve. Actually, I think next week after that, we're going to have Steve Snakesweary. We make 6 of their sauces and out of Shreveport, and it's just our sauces that we rebrand. And also the Heavy Metal Shop in Salt Lake City, and I've done it for different bands. And
Yeah.
I love doing it for bands. That's my favorite
Yes.
thing.
We've had some local businesses in the San Diego area that they come in and they say, "Hey, we're looking. Can you help us make a hot sauce?" And the next question is, "Do you have a recipe or an idea where you want to go with it?" No, not really. We just want a hot sauce. We say, "Hey, well, we've got this small handful over here that we would make available for white label if you're interested in that." And that seems to be pretty well received.
Yeah,
We can keep the quantities low. We can keep the price low. It's already through all the legal channels that it needs to be. So it's super quick to market. So if somebody comes in, at the first of the month, we could probably have them ready to go by mid-month, assuming the labels are there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a quick turnaround.
Designing one with somebody's tough. I'm sorry, Zach. Go ahead.
I was going to say, can you explain the process of what it takes to bring a product to market in California? Because it's pretty different for you guys than it is for everyone else, with
Yeah.
the exception of maybe New York.
So we operate under the California Department of Public Health. There are 2 licenses that we operate under there. One is called PFR, which is Processed Food Registration. Either process or package, I forget. It's the PFR. And then there's the cannery license. The cannery license is the acidified food product license. Most of the hot sauces that we make fall under the cannery license because you're adding acidification to bring the pH down. And as part of that program, we submit our recipe up to UC Davis, who's the process authority. They review the recipe, review the process, send us back the process letter that says, yes, based on these parameters, you can manufacture this product so long as you keep it below this pH, this hold time, all that good stuff. Once we have that letter, we can manufacture the product. When the product is manufactured, it sits in our warehouse until the next time the state comes through our facility to review the notes, review all of the parameters, and do a pH test with us. And at that point, the product is released, and then we can return it back out to the brand owner. State comes through about every 2 weeks.
And did they charge you to come out and oversee your
Oh, yeah.
operation?
Oh yeah.
And do they do that to hot sauce makers at all levels, or is it because you're a co-packer and you're much larger than, say,
It's at all
somebody?
levels.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. It sucks to have that extra pay out, but my goodness, because there's so many cowboy hot sauce makers out there that it's nice to know that they're more strict in California.
There is the other side of the coin, the PFR license. If the product that you're adding is a lot of, so if you were to do a standard vinegar, salt, dry pepper hot sauce, that would it should fall under a PFR license, at which point you submit that recipe one time, they send you back the process letter that says, hey, this falls under PFR, and then no additional scrutiny is really required because there's nothing in that product that they're concerned about from a safety standpoint.
No,
But if
no
you're adding
fresh vegetables, no garlic, no shallots, no onions, none of the things that are considered foods that will cause problems.
Yes, and even if it's fresh material, if that fresh material is already naturally acidic, so just by combining all those ingredients together before you add the vinegar or the citrus, you're already sitting at well below 4.6. that will also push you into the PFR side of the house as well.
That's our Bizarro sauce, the cranberry habanero we have it's already an acid. There's no,
Yeah.
you know,
It's the same with our raspberry sauce. That the
Yeah.
pH on that is super low, like 3.0.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
could probably take the vinegar out of that sauce and just use water. But
Yeah.
you know,
Awesome.
yeah.
That's fantastic. We started out in Washington, and they were much more strict, and it was really a big change for us. So in Washington, and Zach has the same issue in Arizona, from what I understand. In Washington, they came down from Spokane. They grilled us for 2 hours at the restaurant we were at. Saw that we knew what we were doing. When we moved 2 months later, we moved over to Idaho. I called up the local authorities to see what I needed to do. And they said, you're being overseen by the FDA. And in Idaho, you don't have anything else.
Right.
That's it. And so, okay. But I was grateful for that initial kind of grilling we got because it set the tone for everything we do now.
Yes.
If it weren't for that, who knows? We would have not known anything, and it would have been pretty clumsy in the way we would have begun everything. So,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Arizona's kind of the same Wild West philosophy about, the local health departments. Like, we don't want a damn thing to do with you. You're regulated by the FDA.
yeah, they're already overtaxed. And I don't mean overtaxed, but I mean overtaxed work-wise, and they can't keep up. So they don't want to have anything to do with anything extra if they can avoid it.
Yeah.
So how long have you and Jay had California Hot Sauce Solutions? Did you answer that already? 2018, right?
2018. So we actually just turned 5.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Me,
Yeah.
I'm
So,
a month away. Yeah.
have you ever had a issue with a product blowing up or
I have
any other
gotten-
bottling issues for that matter? It doesn't have to be a product blowing up.
I've gotten samples from people that blow up. I have heard of product that has been open and sitting in the sun and then it blows up, which is, not terribly uncommon and you can explain it away pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But as far as anything, the product unopened blowing up, knock on wood, no, sir, we have never had any sort of issue like that we would have to recall.
And we get
Yeah.
phone calls from people. I'm sure you get more, but we get phone calls from people starting up all the time, or email or whatever that are asking about how to start up their company. And the whole thing I have to explain to them is, so you may think you know what you're doing, and you probably do. You probably know exactly what you're doing, but if you aren't careful and you don't have a plan, the spices you're using, bought from the right places, they could come to you and say, "Hey, guess what? That has metal shavings in it. You're going to have to do a recall. It has nothing to do with you."
That's right.
And guess what? That's where you're at right now. And they just don't think of that as being a part of their world. They just think they're making a hot sauce and just rolling along. It is much more dangerous than people realize. You got to take it seriously.
There is no such thing as keeping too many records.
Yeah.
Of everything that comes in the door, everything that goes in the bottle, time, temperature logs, all that stuff, everything. We've got a binder probably that thick for every year that we manufacture, and that's just one of multiple binders from that same year.
That's
And we
interesting.
keep little 1-ounce sample bottles of everything that we run. That ends up eating up a lot of room.
Oh,
That-
yeah.
A little
Well,
1-ounce, test cup that we
They
hot pack
keep
along with the bottle.
3 1-ounce test cups of every sauce.
You talking about us?
Yeah.
We do 4.
Oh,
1-ounce
do you do
test cups.
4?
But one is for testing the pH at 48 hours later.
Yes.
One is for testing the day of the inspection by the state. One gets sent up to UC Davis after the testing from the state, and one we keep in our folder for forever and ever as our own sample. Well, I shouldn't say for all time. We let it get through the expiration period, and then if it's a 2-year expiration and it's at year 3, we'll start throwing that stuff out. But yeah, we will hang on to it for at least 2 to 3 years. It's more a question of if anything ever comes up, hey, we've got our own sample.
Yeah, that
we don't have
makes
to rely
sense.
on samples coming back to us. We can send ours directly off to the lab.
That makes perfect sense.
In like my case, like I had to send bad product. I knew the product was bad. You know what I mean? The co-packer refused to send product off to the lab. I had to send product that was clearly not any good
Yeah.
to a lab to figure out what was going on.
That's
And
amazing.
fuck those guys, man.
Yeah, seriously. That's just
That
ridiculous.
whole story makes me angry every time I think about it.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you guys, I appreciate this stuff. So when I hear things like that, I do like to look at how we're doing everything and change things up.
So if you use I've got these little 1 ounce sample cups, basically lab cups, and I can stack 4 of them into one of the slots on a 5 ounce 12 pack. So I can get, 4 by 12. I can get 48 of them into a 12 pack. So I can store quite a bit per case and then just slide those away.
That's nice. And you must do huge batches.
It's usually about 80 gallons per day for hot sauce. For some of the other products that we do, we'll get as high as 160, sometimes even 200 gallons. But that really only works when it's all going into gallon jugs. The fill when you're at that level goes so quickly that we can just flip those kettles, repeatedly, one right after the other.
Yeah.
But for the hot sauce going into the 5 ounces, those fills, 80 is usually our maximum for the day.
What kind of other products do you do?
We do some barbecue sauce. We've got there's a local restaurant that has their own hot sauce that they bottle into gallons. They've got a ketchup that they bottle into gallons. We've done spicy jams. We had done a vegan mayo at one point for a local startup years and years ago. But we primarily try to stick to hot sauce these days. Hot sauce in 5 ounce bottles is our sweet spot.
Yeah, I can see
We do
mayo
have
being a mess.
it was a vegan mayo too, so it was an odd product, but it actually worked, strangely enough.
I can see
But
that.
Oil and soy milk, basically.
Yeah, they had like this. It wasn't really a patented technique, but they had kind of a special technique to get that froth all whipped up. It was pretty.
Yeah.
They moved to Tennessee, and I don't know if they're still making the product, but my wife is vegan, and as far as vegan mayo goes, it was pretty good. I was pretty surprised with the product, so
That's
it
awesome.
worked well. Yeah.
So let me ask you, when you fill gallon jugs, does the process change at all? Because clearly, when you're putting it in glass, I believe your fill temp is above 180, correct?
It is typically above 180. Yes.
Yes. So, and I understand that ultimately depends on the pH of the sauce. And so when you're putting it in the gallon jugs, obviously they're plastic. What's your fill temp on those?
HDPE will actually survive hot fill pretty well.
Oh, nice.
So you'll start to get a little bit of deformation if you're really hot going into it, but HDPE does pretty well with hot fill.
Yeah, we
And
do.
a lot of times we've got like the wide mouth HDPE, which is even a little bit stronger than say your typical vinegar jug kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that even survives some of the deformation a little bit better.
We have these, and we use
Yeah.
the HDPE. It's great. I love this stuff.
I used to pack into those bottles as well.
They're really nice to use, and they handle the heat very, very well.
Let
We
me ask
had
you
to get
about
it. We had to get extra thick though because it did deform. Pretty
Yes. How are you sealing those? Are you doing the pressure seal?
Yeah, it's got the. This one might be open. Is it open? No. Yeah, it's got it. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. I had used pressure seal years ago, and we had switched over to the
machine
heat seal.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and prior to COVID, we ran those bottles with that heat seal on there, and it worked really well. Somewhere in the middle of COVID, the next time we bought those bottles, I could not get that heat seal to work to save my life.
Really?
And we tried a bunch of different types, a bunch of different brands, and we fought with it until I even brought in a new induction machine because it was bothering me so bad. And like that machine worked okay. We were able to get the seal, but it was still just kind of funky. And I was
Everything's gotten like that. No, we just went with the pressure. They were willing to do it, and it was the same price, so we just went with the pressure.
And I didn't know if it was the bottle or if it was the liner or if it was my machine that went bad. We struggled with those.
We've the plastic over the last year. We started a year ago. We did a sauce with Alton Brown. We're doing it again this year, and that sauce was the first plastic we ever did. And it was a learning experience. It was a big deal, and I was freaking out the entire time. And we had deformation, and we had to figure that out, the banding and all that. And but we just you have to be really exact about your temps. And if you're really exact about your temps, you're fine. So we just had to temp it like all the time. And if we did that, we were good.
It's amazing what 5 degrees will do for the deformation at the end of the process.
Yeah. And then how you cool it, if any airflow is going over it, it can cool it too fast and make them deform. You have to let them cool at a certain rate. It's wild.
And don't stack on top of them either.
No, and don't stick them in the box too soon.
Yep.
Because then all the heat concentrates and they all deform. Do you guys get a lot of the hot sauce influencers that try and request free sauce?
Not so much.
Yeah.
I'm still getting them.
It's a semi-regular occurrence for sure.
Yeah. My favorite thing. So I have a discount on my website for influencers, It's I changed it. It was like something pretty like I'm too
It
cheap
used
to
to be
buy it.
not really a discount.
Oh, that's what it was. Not really a discount 50, but it was only 1%. Now it's influencers 75 and it's only a 1% discount.
No,
I like
no.
I miss your emails about the latest one. I'm kind of bummed that you're not getting hit up anymore.
I think people realize it's not that I'm not in the market of sending out free sauce, but if you legit reach out to me and tell me it's going to be $100 to mention my product on your podcast with like 50 listeners, I'm
Right.
sorry. Like and free sauce. So you want me to pay you, give you free product? Maybe 50 people will hear about my company. And I know that sounds like a dick thing to say, but I mean, ultimately, it's money. It's more than $50. It's more than just sauce. It's it's shipping. It's a whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
there are sometimes I've gotten called out by people because sometimes I'll send something to somebody. I don't know, I see something, I see them trying to do something, and I'll think I'm going to go ahead and send this one for whatever reason I've chosen a bottle of sauce or a couple bottles of sauce. And somebody else has called me out for that, and I'm like, you know what? For whatever reason, I chose to do that, but I can't do that with everybody, man. It's just not
Yeah,
the way it
it's
works.
it's my sauce. It's my brand. I'm gonna send who I want to send
Yeah,
sauce to. Ultimately, and while we're on this topic, I feel like this would be a good spin-off. How do you all feel about the influencers that are reviewing all of these small batch homemakers that are not legal? Do you
yeah,
think it's good for the community or bad for the community
it's bad.
or the industry?
I think the answer to that question depends on whether or not they've got them for sale. If this is someone that is contacting an influencer and says, "Hey, I'm really looking to get into the game. This is what I'm working towards. Would just like to get your feel for it, see what you think about it." I think there's value there. If it's for sale in a capacity that is not legal, I think the community at large should probably do everything they can to avoid monetizing that.
I agree.
Yeah, 100%. I've just been seeing it a lot lately, and they'll have links to websites or Instagrams or Facebooks, and it kind of makes me a little crazy. I try not to think about it, but at the same time, it's hi. My brain doesn't shut the fuck up. So
Yeah, yeah. But I feel the same way. It degrades the hot sauce community, degrades our products all across the board. We work really hard to do everything the right way, and if there's, I mean, I think more than 50% out there not doing it the way you're supposed to, um, it's going to make us all look bad.
and more popping up every day.
Oh
I feel
man.
like if you're getting in the game, get in the game, even if it's just your side gig or whatever. Like
Yeah.
you got to be above board.
The one sticking point with those guys, I swear, I'll tell them all the little stuff they gotta buy. Here's the beer kettle. I go out of my way to make sure and tell them all the things they need to know, because I think community is more important than competition. And I'll say, and better food handling. You need to take that class.
Hmm.
It's really important, and it's $400. Go, just that you need to knock that off the top right away, and they don't do it. Um, you got to do it. It's just that's the most important thing. Got to know what you're doing. All right. Well, let's see. I've got this question that Zach hates.
It's the dumbest question on the planet, dude.
I don't think it's the dumbest question, and I'll tell you why. So I'm going to change it up a little bit. It's the desert island hot sauce. So you're on a desert island and you get one sauce. A pallet of it's going to pull up. Your other things will float up, whatever you want to eat, but you get one sauce. And the reason why I think it's an important question, and I actually may have changed this on my answer to this recently.
Huh.
The reason I think it's an important question is because there's a lot of different sauces out there that are great for individual foods. But what is the best sauce just across the board to put on a whole bunch of different foods?
And
What's
it
a
can't be
really good?
something that you make.
Yeah, it can't be anything you make.
Can't be anything we make either.
I might blow some minds here, but I like Valentine's. That's my go-to when I'm at the grocery
Really?
store and I'm just trying to find one that's just gonna work across the board. Or I used to go to the chili shop in Cincinnati, Skyline Chili, and they would always have bottles of Crystal sitting on the table, and I think they even relabeled them as their Skyline or whatever. And for whatever reason, that sauce has become embedded into my brain. That anytime I eat chili, it's Crystal hot sauce that I reach for. I know that's crazy, but it's one of those things where all sauces have a place. and, and that's if I'm going on a desert island and I got to eat bugs and worms and whatever, I'm gonna go with either Valentine's or Crystal.
That's amazing. All
Right.
right.
True story.
Valentine, it's Valentina's, isn't it? Or is it
Yeah,
Valentine's?
yeah.
Yeah. That was so you being in Southern California, my version of that is Pico Pica that Zach hates.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
I like Pico Pica. That actually, darn it, I'm changing my answer again. Pico Pica's my answer.
Okay. So in all fairness, that sauce on its own is too salty for me. And I don't care if it says 70 milligrams of
No,
sodium.
it's
per
way
kg.
higher than
It is
that.
way higher than that. On food, I would probably enjoy it more. Or if I like cooked it into some ground turkey for tacos or something, like I will definitely use that as an ingredient. Eating it on its own was not for me.
No, and it was definitely more than 70 milligrams. It was
100%.
I mean, twice that at least. We sampled it on the show here, and it was just like, whoa! I don't remember it being this salty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a Happy Taco one. We got one called Happy Taco. I'm going to send you some. I always send the guests some sauce, so I'll send you some
Oh,
of our
perfect.
Happy Taco.
I will happily reciprocate. I love that.
Awesome. Thank you. Your sauces, God, that peach one I liked a lot.
Thank you.
That is really good. And I like smoke, so that helps.
Yeah.
You know,
And we never use the liquid smoke. I mean, we do it the hard way and make sure that it's got proper smoke in there rather than just dumped out of a gallon jug.
I've got one I have to admit I used liquid smoke on, but I was a little particular about it. It's our corporate line. We do one called Vandal pepper sauce, and then we have the Irish spikes. I wouldn't
Yep.
use liquid smoke and any of the Irish spikes one, but the corporate line I was okay with that, and it actually came out really good. It's a smoky apple and chipotle. I like it. I still use it. It's a good, just standard. It's like eating Valentines or
Yeah.
Valentinas or it's one of
Right.
those. All right, I'll get on board with whatever they're throwing in there. It worked somehow.
Yeah.
So,
California Hot Sauce Solutions does a lot of things the hard way.
Yes, that is
I
correct.
I noticed
Some
that.
some by choice, some by just financial constraints.
I really like that. I liked your answers to the questions today were great to hear. So I came up in kitchens as a chef, and sometimes you're working in a kitchen where they're cutting corners that make you uncomfortable, and sometimes they're
Hmm.
cutting corners that make you think, why are we doing all this extra work, and we could cut corners that would work better. And that in middle road are always the best kitchens to be in, where they're cutting the right corners in the right way. And yeah, you're not going to squeeze all the lemons for all your lemon juice. That's just ridiculous. You're going to get a good lemon juice somewhere. That
I
kind
Yes.
mean, I used to squeeze all my limes back
But
in the day.
you stop.
1000%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have
Dana
to.
fought me on that. She's like, no, it's got to be fresh squeezed. This processed stuff tastes different. I'm like, I understand that, but I'm not squeezing enough lemons for 40 gallons of sauce or limes for 40 gallons of sauce. It's not
Yeah,
gonna happen.
I will. When I first got going, I will confess to having squoze all of my own limes as well. That was just
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and there's three levels to that. There's like the squeeze it all yourself, which is fantastic. And if you're going to do a Michelin star restaurant, you're going to have to do that. You can eat in a really nice restaurant and they buy the really good squeezed lemon. And then you can eat in a restaurant that buys, like Denny's or anywhere else, then they buy real lemon, all
Concentrate.
one word,
Yeah.
with sodium bisulfate and potassium sorbate in it, and that's a whole different monster. It tastes lemony, kinda,
And salty.
and salty, yeah, and
Right.
weird,
Lemon and salt.
yeah. So you just, it's that in between that I like a lot, and people that recognize that and move towards that, I prefer that. It makes sense because I like when people, Zach. I have a great appreciation for the extra work you put in. I love that. I can't do a lot of the stuff that you do. I can't go to that level.
If I could start over and begin this from scratch again, I wouldn't fire roast a fucking thing. Because you know what? When you're doing 8, 10 gallons, it's all fun and games because
Yeah.
the pepper quantity is not that big of a deal. You get a 40-gallon kettle and you're like, what the fuck was I thinking? And if
Yeah.
you don't have like a barrel roaster or you're working out of a shared kitchen space that won't like let you upgrade a little bit on your own dime, like I want to pay for it. I want a 48-inch griddle because roasting all this shit on a 24-inch griddle, it just takes forever. Like, and they won't let me do it. I'm just like, come on, that's it. Like, I'm gonna pay for it, and then I pay you extra because I'm storing more of my stuff here. So how does that not make sense to you? But
Ye
whatever.
That's why I started doing our premium sauces. We've got a line of premium sauces we started this year so that I could go the extra mile with some of these things. And we had this amazing farmers market that we're in, and we have all this. I mean, right next to us, there's this place called Calhoun Family Fruit, and there's just giant peaches right next to us every day. And so I did a bourbon peach this year. We did a green mole. I'll send you a bottle. This is the green mole. I'll send you this bottle actually.
Oh, fantastic.
We just sold it out, and that's it. It's one batch a year. It's while everything's fresh, and I can do that and then do the other sauces where, we're just kind of doing they're really good, but we're hitting that middle of the road with everything instead of just doing everything by hand.
You should
Yeah.
send Tim the drunken red and green too.
I will, absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
like the name of it.
made with
I
beer wort.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
The beer companies like to give out because they can make extra wort in a second, so they'll give out wort, for pretty cheap, so I like that. It's easier than buying the beer, and I think you get more of the properties of the beer that work better, so.
Yeah, I would suspect you get a lot more maltiness out of that.
Yes. Yeah, it's really nice. And the sugars, it does make it a little bit more difficult because you have to make sure you're getting the right one that has the brick or whatever. You probably know this better than me since you have to do everything at such a high level. But you have to make sure it's exactly right. But other than that, I have a question for you that's kind of off topic. Obviously, you check your acidity, but do you check your water activity? Do you have a meter for that?
We do bricks on some of the product that we make. We don't really analyze the water activity. When we send that up to UC Davis as part of the process authority,
Yeah.
they do a lot of the checks on that, and then we just adhere to whatever it is that we send it up to them.
Yeah, we send ours to WSU and it's the same thing. They check it for us. I was curious because I'm thinking about getting, what is it, a meter or water activity? There's a word for
an
it.
AW.
Yeah, I just wanted to be able to have it so I could know because there's sometimes when I'm wanting to play with the water amount, but I don't want to I don't want to send it out and have to pay for that and then, you know what I mean, for nothing. So I was thinking about getting one and I didn't know if at your level you guys tested it on a regular basis.
For
So
this viscosity level, we actually do quite a bit just by knowing the product, and we can see it at scale when it hits the right viscosity. There's often a conversation of, hey, does this look a little loose to you today? Does this look a little heavy?
Yeah.
And we can really as a team kind of eyeball that and get it down to the proper window.
Yeah, I can nail it. Like 'cause sometimes I can walk in the kitchen and say that's too thick. I can see it.
Right.
Something's up. That's gonna be frozen in the bottle in an hour,
Yep.
So do
Um,
you only check the bricks on high sugar content stuff?
It's mainly if we get a product in from another co-packer where they've got the bricks already listed on there and we're trying to match up to something that's already there. That's when we're primarily using that bricks just to make sure that we're in the same window that they are.
Makes sense.
this is I think my favorite podcast we've done yet. I love this kind of stuff. I because I learned so much more about our industry and what we're doing and hopefully where we're going at some point, you know what I mean? So that's a nice thing. And in
Oh.
this area, there isn't anybody like what you do. So it's really good for us to
I
be
mean,
able to grow in our
there-
area. Because I've had US schools
I
come to
believe
me and
there's.
say, if you had the ability, you could do really well. And I've been like, I know.
I hear you.
That-
Tucson does not really have any. We don't have any co-packers.
Yeah.
There are plenty of co-packers out here, but a lot of them are at like the next step or even the step after that above us. It's very rare that you find one that is in the volume that we are. It's very rare to find one that'll run 40 to 80 gallons for you. And it's even rarer to find someone that does 40 to 80 gallons for you almost exclusively in hot sauce. So we're a very odd bird in the industry, and as such, we get a lot of inquiries on a daily basis. Many of them that we have to turn down. We're getting hit with, do you do spicy jams? Can you run this chili oil for us? I've got this particular product that has, God knows what in there. I'd say we turn down probably 4 out of the 5 people that contact us almost immediately. And then the remainder, we really have to kind of figure out if it is a good fit or not. It's pretty rare to find a co-packer that's at this volume, even in Southern California.
So I'm going to turn the corner a little bit for your own hot sauce. I mean, I see quite a few, and you seem to do a lot of those, what you call micro batches. What's the size of a micro batch for you?
Right now, it's 40 gallons or less.
Okay.
Like a one 40 gallon or less, just something that I'll run off just one time.
Yeah,
So
that makes
75
sense.
cases.
Judging by the ingredients I've seen in your sauces, you seem like you might have the same issue that I know Zach has, which is I can't stop making sauces in my brain. Am I right? Or am I
Yes.
completely wrong? Okay,
Yeah, I'm constantly doing that as well.
I mean, we're creeping up on 40 sauces and it's ridiculous. And it's not all at once. We don't have 40. It's
Right.
throughout the year. But still, it's like, and my wife won't let me do the grocery shopping. Because as soon as I walk in the grocery store, I'm making a sauce in my head.
Ooh, jackfruit.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I was just curious
Jackfruit.
about that.
It's
I
so
make a sauce
sticky, man. Like you gotta like pre-boil it to get that sticky off of it before you do anything with it.
I
Yeah,
love
sounds
getting
like
a new.
could make a good sauce.
Let's see. Do you have any hot sauce hot takes? Like everybody else believes this across the board. I'll tell you mine. Now, Valentina
Sure.
is an exception. Cholula, Tapatio, Tabasco. I'm going to tell you, I feel the same way about Crystal. I think they're all kind of garbage sauces. I just don't. They're great ingredients. They're not great hot sauces, and that's my opinion on that. Lots of people feel different, but that's my hot take. Do you have one?
Oh, I'm sure I can come up with a few. I've said this about the beer industry too. Like every beer has a time and a place. Even like a Coors Light, for example, which I think a lot of people would consider to be just a crappy, watery American beer. You're out mowing the lawn and it's 100 degrees that day, and you come in to grab a beer. That's probably the beer you're going to go for instead of like a dark Guinness or a double IPA or something like that. I feel the same way. Yeah, a sour. Yeah, I think that the hot sauce there is kind of similar in that there's a time and a place for just about every hot sauce out there. I won't go too crazy. I'll tell you some that I see with new to market companies. One of the biggest mistakes that I see is everybody else is in 5-ounce bottles. So I don't want to be in 5-ounce bottles. I'm going to be in this fancy, flashy bottle that costs 3 times as much to procure. They come in and out of the market. If you're trying to buy those bottles, the next time you need to run a product, it may or may not be available. They're difficult to label. Sometimes it'll have a front and a rear to label. Like I see a lot of that, and I tend to try to talk new to market companies. I try to, as best I can, educate them why I think 5-ounce bottles are so ubiquitous and why you should really consider going that with the new to market product. The other thing that I see is everybody's in 5 ounces. Why I want to be in 10 ounces or 12 ounces or 8 ounces? A lot of that, which if you're already at market, I think there is a time and a place for that. But just straight out of the gate, I always recommend if you're new to the market, you're new to the game, stick with the 5-ounce bottles. Go with what works. Let the sauce do the talking for you.
Yeah.
Let me think if I can come up. Oh, another good one. Truffles. Truffles.
Oh yeah.
I enjoy truffles, but there is such a push for when truffles are part of the product that's got to be the only thing that you're getting out of it. And a lot of times it isn't even real truffle. It's going to be essence or oil or what have you.
That stuff they used to make the truffle oil for our fries in every restaurant.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And we made a product, Jay and I did, that was called the Subtle Teas. And it's got just a little bit of white truffle on the back.
Dude, it's
back flavor.
so good.
Just a very subtle tease of truffle truffleness. My take is I feel like that's the way truffles are supposed to be used in a sauce. Just a tiny little brief accent that you get on the very back of the palate.
I agree. Yes. So the only truffle sauce I've had is truff, and it was really, really nice consistency. I think the consistency was beautiful. That was the best thing I can say about the sauce. It would actually be a really good sauce without the truffle in it.
It's a very neat package as well. I will grant them that.
Yeah, the same exact thing that you said. Yeah, I don't care about that's me with the packaging. I'm like, I don't care about the package. it's, you know, I'm a grump.
I'm trying to think if I've got any other good hot takes, but I think those are three good ones.
Those were
Yeah.
really three good ones, yeah, and pretty much right along the lines that Zach and I think have brought all those up at some point or another. How do you feel about boxes, like really fancy boxes? When you know you're as a consumer, when I do the buy something and I see these really like they've been printed really nice and da da da. Da,
Hmm.
I noticed yours when you sent the sauce to me. It was the same packaging that Zach has, which I actually like. It's really understated, and it's not. It doesn't have a bunch of flash to it. It's just going to get the bottle there in good condition, but still be nice.
The reason it looks so much like Zach's is because he asked us if we needed any when he placed an order about a year or so ago, and we're like, "Yeah, we should probably get a few thousand of those," and we're still working off the big pallet that he delivered down to us of those things.
That's
Um,
awesome.
I'm still working on the
I-
same palette, man. I'm getting
okay,
close
good,
though.
good, good.
I'm
Glad it's not
getting
just
close.
us.
And
I
did you?
feel like your bottles didn't fit in those boxes. They were just like an eighth inch too tall.
Well, you remember we now have our bottles from a different company.
Because when we were doing the whole mystery box thing, like your bottles wouldn't
Yeah,
they just wouldn't fit in there and the box wouldn't close right.
our bottle company. We had some issues. They switched from the 12 pack to 24, and we
Oh,
have 6 of our sauces with US Foods. And so we were having to buy boxes to replace the boxes that we were getting from them, which was
right.
costing us more money. And it was around. And so even though we like the company, they've been really good to us. Where we've had to get bottles from somewhere else. And I ordered bottles from this company, and they were really cheap. And I'm like, okay, this is a test run. I'm going to see how this works. And I was a little iffy. I called them up. I made them assure me that they came in boxes of 12. I asked specifically because of our other company, and they said yes. And then the bottles showed up without any boxes.
Hang on, I got
Oh
an
yeah,
email
bulk
to
packs.
myself real quick.
Yeah. And we have to take all of our stuff down into a basement that we have this special room set aside, box by box. Like, I really can't wait till we get in a facility can just park the damn thing.
Right.
Because we have to fire line it down into this basement. So I saw that and I was like,
It,
you're taking that back.
Yeah.
you cannot overstate how much time and energy it takes to build out case boxes when you don't get them. Because we have gotten 2-ounce Bostons and 4-ounce Bostons that were bulk packed, like I suspect, like your 12 ounces came in. And building case boxes is it's insane.
Yeah.
We thought to ourselves, well, it can't be that big a deal. You just got to build a box. But you're not just building the box. You're building the box. You're building the internals that go into the box, the dividers. You're
Yeah.
taping it up. And you're doing that for 75 cases at a time. It takes a lot of time and energy and ultimately money.
Where'd it go? There it is.
Oh yeah,
And
nice.
so not only was it exposed right there, but down in the bottom left-hand corner, they were flowing
Oh,
out. And the guy walked up and handed me about 6 bottles and said, "These were on the floor." And I'm like,
yeah,
dude, there's nothing I can do with those.
no. I've gotten bulk pallets like that before, never exposed and ripped like that, but I've
That
had
is
a pallet
ridiculous.
show up that was full of loose bottles like that, and I'm like, what in the world are we gonna do with these?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing I thought is, how are we going to get those down into a basement?
Right,
That's not going to happen.
right.
Oh
That's
man.
that's over 5,000 bottles on there because you can actually get more on them because they're bulk packed. So
Yep.
you might even be closer to like 6,000
Yeah,
bottles.
I think it was
Yeah.
6,500. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no way. To their credit, I thought was going to be a big fight. They owned up to the issue. They made a call on the fly and they took him back. So
Yeah.
not expect that at all.
Yeah, that's a good company.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can get their ish together.
Yeah, absolutely. We
Uh,
were getting them from a really good place in Portland and the price was good and everything. And then COVID hit and they doubled in price.
Yeah.
I think they tripled in price. It was ridiculous.
Local company here, when I first started making sauce, it was 19 cents a bottle and
Mhm.
like 1 cent for a cap. And then COVID hit and then it went to 27 cents. And then towards the end of COVID, they were at 47 cents. I'm like, you are on fucking drugs. Like, I can't spend 47 cents on one bottle. Like, that is ridiculous. And then they wanted like $1,000 to ship it from Phoenix to Tucson.
There was one point during COVID that we were out of caps and I needed caps and nobody had caps.
Yeah.
And I ended up paying 12 cents per cap to get caps in time for a production run.
I
Like,
almost
it's just
sent. Remember when I almost sent some to you, Zach? You
Yeah.
found some before I did, but
Yeah.
I saw that coming and ordered an extra 10,000 caps, and it was like gold, and I was ready to like
yeah,
cash in.
yeah. It
I
it was
couldn't have done
insane.
it.
Yeah.
But the companies that are selling caps had no problem with that. They were selling them at 12 cents, 15 cents, 20 cents a piece.
Yeah,
It
I
was
can't do that kind of
nuts.
stuff.
No, me either.
No.
It's that community over competition thing, you know. When we first
Right.
started, I reached out to Secret Aardvark about something, just asking a question, not really knowing, much. And they were so nice, and one of their reactions to it was community over competition. And I've kept that with me ever since and tried to, keep it going because you have to, It's
Yes,
if we don't all kind of keep each other going, it's not going to be a good community.
agree wholeheartedly.
With the exception of those, tub sauce makers. If you want to be a crafter, make shit at your house and give it away. That's one thing, man. But like once you start selling it over,
That's right.
over state lines, it's a whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
Once you put the for sale sign up in your website, you are officially in the game. And when you're in the game, you got to be legit.
Yeah, yeah. I would tell cooks when I was on the line, I would tell them it sounds kind of gross, really, when you think about it, but what we do is more intimate in some ways than sex because what we're creating with our hands, they're literally ingesting and it's becoming a part of them. And you have to
yeah.
realize the weight of that when you're sending that food out. We have to take that into consideration. You have to realize that it's becoming a part of these people. And I certainly want everybody to treat the food that I eat with the respect I think it deserves. So.
Yes.
All right, so hot sauce show and tell. So I like this actually, Zach. I think our guests should be able to use their own hot sauce.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
think we're changing the rules right now. This is it. So
Tim's changing the rules. We're switching it up just for Tim.
well, I think I didn't tell
Yes.
him the rules.
Oh, I think I did.
I don't
at one
even know what
point,
the
but
rules are.
Yeah, I didn't tell
there
him.
are no rules. That's why I say beginning of
Yeah.
every episode, welcome to the shit show or welcome to our shit show.
All right, so Tim, you want to go first. Which one did you bring out?
Smoked pepper
Me?
sauce.
Yeah, there you go.
Smoked pepper? That was your first one too, right?
Yeah, who's talking? Are you asking me what I have here?
Yes, yes. What's yours?
Okay. Yeah, I got the smoked pepper sauce, which we had chatted about earlier in the episode.
I have not had that one yet.
That was the one that I put together when I was working in the tech world, and did A/B testing with all of my friends and family and coworkers for years and years and years. And I had about 3 different varieties of that particular flavor. That's what I brought to market with the company originally, and then I eventually condensed that down to one product that's just called smoked pepper sauce. That's like my oldest born. There is what that one is.
What peppers are you using in it?
Smoked habaneros go in there.
Oh, nice.
There's also some bonnet and savina in there, if I remember correctly.
I noticed you use savina as kind of an accent a lot.
I do like the habanero range. That's kind of where I like to be.
Habanero is the perfect pepper to me.
I tend to agree. You got good flavor, good heat. It's not overpowering. It can be hot. It can be really hot, but
yeah,
not
that
overwhelming.
fruitiness that you get with it is really good, really nice. It just lends itself to whatever you're putting in there. It's great.
Works with citrus, works with fruit.
Yeah, and that's actually why I picked this one. I had a bunch of different sauces, but this one is pineapple, habanero, and turmeric.
Another sauce that you wouldn't typically like because it has pineapple in it.
Yep. I mean, this was sent to me by somebody. Like I said, Roger Damp sent this to
I
me.
don't like pineapple. I don't like strawberries, but here you are, like 2 weeks in a row, eating a sauce that has pineapple in it.
So the thing is that
I'm just fucking with you.
No,
man.
I know that, but I like to be won over. We've got a pineapple, mango, and banana jerk, and I don't care about mango at all. Pineapple, I like in certain applications, but not as much as other people.
Tim, the funny thing is, he claims he's not a picky eater.
And I hate banana, but I love that sauce. I love that sauce. All right, I'm gonna take a swig of this. Oh, that's really good. That's so the pineapple doesn't overtake everything. It's the turmeric I'm tasting more than anything, and a lot of chunks. This is a really good sauce. Pineapple, onion water, rice vinegar, lime juice, vegetable oil. It is kind of creamy, so that makes sense.
Oils, why vegetable oil? Like
Habanero, ginger. I tasted the ginger. Kosher salt, garlic. Oh, I hate spice. Don't say spice. Put what's in it. Turmeric.
Tim says spice.
I do spice every now and then.
Oh, do you?
Guilty.
There's a piece of ginger in there, which is a nice, the hair of the ginger. All right, what you got, Zach?
I like those people that include salt in their spice blend without actually listing it as an ingredient.
I just don't like when they do peppers. Peppers. Like, oh, come on. Tell me what's in it.
Well, if it says peppers, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to have like a parentheses sub ingredient to list it. I don't fucking care. Anyway, so I got this Lucky Dog Chrome,
Yeah, there you go.
new and revised.
So who makes this?
Lucky Dog. This is a Heatonist exclusive sauce, or used to be. More garlic is what he told me. Some more peppers, maybe. I don't remember. A little thin. Delicious, though. What we got here?
Is it Chrome or is it white label? I can't really see from here.
It's Chrome.
Okay.
Mandarin Orange, Drake's Palo. Yeah, I definitely like this version than the previous version more. Just wish it was a little thicker.
How do you feel about thicker, thin sauces, Tim?
I typically prefer thicker sauces.
Yeah,
I
me
kind
too.
of like when they're a little bit chewy and they stay. If you were to pour a little dollop onto
Mhm.
a cracker or something, I want to see it dollop up there. I don't like to see it run off everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I have a couple sauces that are on the thinner side, are carrot, but I actually have plans in my head to thicken those up a little bit. After doing them a while, I like them a little thicker. But as we all know, getting that thickness just right can be a real pain in the ass.
I
Yes.
mean, all of our sauces were thin when I first started, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then as I'm like, wait a minute, this is people. Yeah, some people like it, some people don't. I'm like, I'm gonna make sauces the way I want it. I want it thick.
What's the high desert motto?
We make sauces that. Well, it's not the motto, but we have a little thank you card. It says at HDSC, we make sauces that we love.
I love that.
Dana came up with it.
It's great. I love it. Do you have anything to add, Zach?
No, I think it's a pretty good episode. Definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, Tim, thank you so much. I learned a lot. I really like talking to you. This has been fantastic. Everything that you've said about your philosophy and all the things that I've heard, your sauces, that nopales sauce, I
Oh, wow.
really love that sauce.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that was a moment, and I think it did it happen on camera, Zach? It was our test run, wasn't
It was our test run. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it on camera somewhere. I grew up in Southern California eating nopales that
Mhm.
our neighbors would make. They had cactus in their backyards. They would cut it off and they would make nopales for us. And so when I ate that, it was like bringing me back to my childhood, which is amazing. It was like, holy moly, it's
I
been
love that.
years. Yeah. So yeah, it was a special sauce. I love that.
When we were making that sauce for the first time at 40 gallons, it had this smell. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if this is right. It smells kind of funky. Ooh, I don't know. And then, after a while, we finally got everything in there. We tasted it out. We're like, oh, no, this is exactly perfect. This is what we were going for. But that stink of cactus cooking at
Yeah.
40 gallons was overpowering.
Oh, I bet.
I've grown to love it now because I know what to expect. But when we first ran that, oh, man, I was having my doubts.
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's and of course the smoked strawberry surprised me. That was the capper. So you can always a lot of companies have one sauce that you'll be like, "Oh, that's pretty good." But I had that smoked strawberry and knowing that I don't like strawberries and having it and going, "This is brilliant." And I looking at the moves you made in the sauce and going,
Well,
"Yes."
that was actually a J sauce, which is his business partner.
Oh,
That's-
okay. Okay.
That's
I mean,
that's a
they all still make it.
No, that's a collab sauce.
Oh,
That's
is
a
it?
CHSS. So yeah, that was
Sure.
he and I. You get little pieces of Jay, little pieces of me going into those guys.
And you see little things like the lemon zest. I think that was the last ingredient, but seeing and tasting it right then as I'm seeing it, it's like, oh yes. I mean, you just get those little moments. I love that. That's fantastic.
We actually made that one for a strawberry festival here in Vista one year, and it was supposed to be a one-time thing. We'll just run it, for the festival, whatever. And it had this crappy little paper label on it, and we put it out there, and it just went crazy. And we sold out that day. We had people contacting us the next week. Hey, when are you gonna make more of that? Hey, when are you gonna make more of that? So we decided we should probably add that one to the repertoire. So that one stayed in the catalog ever since.
That's awesome. I just had that happen a couple days ago. I did a class with a bunch of kids at the university. They were doing a camp and they asked me, it was a pizza camp, but they wanted me to make hot sauce with them. And I made a watermelon curry.
Oh wow!
It'd been in the back of my head to do this watermelon curry for a long time. And I made it and they helped me make it. It was a lot of fun. And the teacher came and said, "So where's the watermelon curry? Can I get it yet?" And I'm like, "Dude, it's like next year if we do it then.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a while. This is not a short process. It takes a while." All right. Well, thank you so much again, Tim. I don't want to keep you too much longer. I'll keep talking to you all night. So,
Yeah, I
All right.
mean, if one of us doesn't call it, we will sit here for
yeah,
hours.
it's
Yeah,
true.
I love it. Good company. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Enjoy being here.
Anytime. Thank you. You take care now.
All right. Take care, y'all.
Later, buddy.
Flavor Balance Heat, the podcast for hot sauce lovers and makers, was brought to you by Irish Spike's Unique Hot Sauces, High Desert Sauce Co., and Vandal Pepper Sauces. This is a Spike Mine Media production.